the Together trial is a new type of doing clinical trials and evaluating new drug interventions. It's called a platform adaptive randomized clinical trial. And the real innovation behind this type of trial is that you can evaluate multiple interventions and add or take away interventions according to looking at the data, at particular planned periods during the trial. We've actually evaluated 9 different interventions since the trial began in June 2020. We've randomized over 4,000 patients in that period of time. We screened about 12,000 patients. We have discontinued 6 of those interventions for lack of treatment benefit. We continued on with 3 of them for a number of reasons, but the only drug that so far has indicated that it offers important treatment benefits for patients with early COVID is Fluvoxamine, which you've been hearing about today. In our trial, we randomized about 1,500 patients to either Fluvoxamine or placebo, and we found that Fluvoxamine reduced the likelihood of requiring hospitalization for disease progression among those patients by an average of 32%. This number went up, a greater treatment benefit among patients who took all of their drugs. So adherence is clearly an important indicator of success for this intervention. What's really important about this drug is that it's already a well-known drug in terms of its safety. In many environments, it's already available. It's not patented any longer. There's a generic version of it available. And for the course of treatment that we provided within our trial, it cost only $4 for the course of treatment provided. So we're looking forward to this being able to help in environments where some of the more expensive drugs are not available. And even in environments where they may be available, this might be an option that people want to consider.
Fluvoxamine is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and in the United States, it's FDA approved for treatment of obsessive compulsive disorder. We also use it to treat depression and anxiety, but this is not why we got the idea to use it to treat COVID-19. It also happens to bind to the sigma-1 receptor, which is a protein inside our cells, which helps to regulate the cell's response to stress and inflammatory triggers like infections. In COVID-19, there seems to be a deterioration in this second week of illness because of the body's excessive inflammatory response to the virus. And this can cause damage to the lungs and other organs. So we thought if we were to give Fluvoxamine, we might be able to prevent that excessive inflammatory response, to prevent respiratory deterioration and the need for hospitalization. So we did the initial trial in St. Louis, Missouri. And this was a randomized controlled trial where people got either Fluvoxamine or placebo. Those who got Fluvoxamine did not experience respiratory deterioration, but 8.3% of those who took placebo had a respiratory deterioration, and some of them needed to be hospitalized. Then there was a replication trial at Golden Gate Fields in Berkeley, California. This is a horse race track where many of the employees had COVID-19. There was a large outbreak, and the track physician, Dr. David Septel, decided he would offer people who tested positive for COVID-19 Fluvoxamine if they chose to take it. And those who chose to take Fluvoxamine did not require hospitalization, but 12.5% of those who chose not to take Fluvoxamine needed to go in the hospital. So both of these trials were small trials, and they needed to be replicated so that we could make sure that these were real effects that we were seeing. And that's where the Together trial came in.
What excites me is the clinical pharmacology of Fluvoxamine. As Angela had spoken about, the primary pharmacology is around the sigma-1 receptor agonism. What we actually did was then evaluate, using biosimulation, the potential of the concentrations associated with the dosing regimen looked at in the Together platform trial to see if they would be pharmacologically active. And it was really pleasing for us to actually see congruence with the preclinical information and the outcomes that we saw within the Together platform trial. The second thing is the mechanism of action of fluvoxamine being anti-inflammatory, meaning it's downstream of actually the virus, affording it the potential to have quite broad activity. So that is also something which is exciting to me. And the potential, therefore, as new therapeutics begin to emerge, particularly antivirals that target the virus itself, like molnupiravir, which we're hearing about in the press, is that fluvoxamine works in a complementary fashion. It works a little bit further down the pathophysiological pathway. So we see that there will be great potential to evaluate combinations of antivirals with fluvoxamine to see if we may have an additive or perhaps even a synergistic effect.